Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's lecture on anti-doping course brought to you by NPTEL in association with Madras IIT. Uh, this is the week 3, lecture 5, and today we're going to discuss on ADRV prevention strategies, anti-doping rules violations. What are the strategies to prevent? I am Professor Dobson Dominic, Head of Sports Medicine and Sports Science, Savitha Medical College, and President, Indian Society of Sports and Exercise Medicine. In this previous lectures, we have covered on anti-doping rules violation by athletes and athlete personnel. We also looked into the different WADA codes, 11 articles. We looked into how ADRV can be avoided by athletes and also the rights and responsibilities for athletes and athletes personnel. Last session, we looked into the common anti-doping rules violation scenarios prevalent in our country and also around the world. And today's lecture, we are going to look into the prevention strategies to be adopted in terms of anti-doping rules violations. So in this lecture, we will see what are the WADA World Anti-Doping Strategies to prevent ADRV, anti-doping rule violation. We'll look into what are the education and learning methods adopted. It's called anti-doping education and learning. We look into newer strategies by WADA to prevent ADRV, that is athlete biological passport. And we also look into how doping control process can be sensitized to avoid anti-doping rules violation. What are the strategies to reduce anti-doping rule violations? The most important is educating athletes and the support personnel about the prohibited substances and testing procedures through this process called anti-doping education and learning, ADEL, adopted by WADA. WADA also does increased testing both outside competition and during competition. This is to prevent ADRVs. And the final strategy is by adopting athlete biological passport. We'll look into this. So what is ADEL? ADEL stands for Anti-Doping Education and Learning Platform. WADA provides anti-doping education through anti-doping education and learning platform for athletes as well as athlete support personnel. WADA as well as national anti-doping organizations conduct various sessions and awareness campaigns for athletes at various tournaments ranging from grassroots all the way up to state, national level and international competitions. This ADL learning and education platform helps in raising the awareness among athletes against doping. Now, let's look into the second strategy adopted by WADA, which is a athlete biological passport, commonly termed as the mnemonic ABP. Athlete biological passport, what is it? It is a tool used by anti-doping agencies, WADA and the national anti-doping organizations to monitor an athlete's biological markers over time. What are the biological markers? Common biological markers are urine, blood and sweat. So what does it do? It tracks variation in an athlete's blood and urine sample to detect potential doping. It also establishes a baseline for an athlete's biological parameters and flags significant deviations that may indicate doping practices. So, if you look into the timeline of athlete biological passport, the concept was developed by WADA as early as early 2000, and in 2009, a formal introduction by World Anti-Doping Agency, whereby they launched ABP, Athlete Biological Passport, in 2009, focusing on a new module called hematological module, which was focusing on detecting blood doping practices. In 2014, WADA expanded the ABP to include steroid module, and as early as 2023, the addition of the endocrine module was initiated by WADA. So, athlete biological passport, you need to remember, has three main modules. One is hematological module, which is the most ancient one. Then came the steroidal module, and then endocrine module. So, the whole ABP is structured around these three modules. So, what do? Together, they monitor various biomarkers to identify abnormalities that suggest doping. So, they constantly monitor the urine and blood samples and look for to identify any performance enhancing substances or performance enhancing methods. So, each module targets specific type of doping using a longitudinal data analysis to uncover patterns indicative of substance use or prohibited methods. Athlete biological passport, the main objective is to flagging athletes and samples for further testing. So, ABP athlete biological passport uses longitudinal data to highlight suspicious pattern that may indicate doping. When unusual profiles are detected, they can trigger target testing. What do you mean by target testing? It means additional tests are focused on that particular athlete or sportsman. So, athlete biological passport helps in optimizing the resources. You cannot keep testing all the athletes. ABP helps in target testing by focusing the testing efforts and resources on athletes with abnormal biomarkers profiles. The second objective is to complement analytical testing. So, athlete biological passport is not a standalone test, but it works alongside traditional analytical testing methods. So, it detects physiological changes over a course of time rather than identifying a specific banned substance, thus strengthening the overall anti-doping strategy. Example, hematological module can prompt test for agents affecting erythropoiesis such as EPO or blood transfusion. Steroid module can trigger advanced testing like gas chromatography, combustion isotope radiomass spectrometry for detecting synthetic steroids. Synthetic steroids, as we have already seen, are a group of steroids which are used commonly by athletes to enhance the strength and power. Endocrine module can prompt growth hormone testing based on abnormal IGF-1, that is insulin like growth factor 1, or P3, that is peptide 3 NP values. The third objective of ABP is enabling retrospective analysis and investigation. So, by monitoring biomarker data over time, ABP allows for long-term storage of samples. So, a sample which was tested for 5 years ago can be retested for future testing as new advanced methods develop. Thereby, even if an athlete has taken some performance enhancing substance or use some banned methods in the past 5 years before, they can even now be tested in the future with advanced testing technology. It assists in investigation by providing evidence that can be re-examined if new suspicions arise on the testing technologies, or as the new technologies become available, the athlete's sample is retested and it helps in retrospective analysis. ABP, Athlete Biological Passport, also supports anti-doping rule violations based on use of substances rather than just the presence thereby enhancing reach of anti-doping efforts. Okay, even if the athlete sample doesn't have the banned substance, but ADRV, based on the use of substances, they can be reinvestigated. So ABP, the main one is through a management unit called Passport Management Unit. So what are Passport Management Unit? They are responsible for the effective implementation and management of the athlete's passport or athlete's biological passport. They work closely with anti-doping organizations, laboratories, and World Anti-Doping Agency to oversee data collections, analysis, and review, ensuring the program's integrity and reliability. So, we looked into the biological passport, which helps in the prevention of ADRV. Next, we look into the prevention of ADRV during doping control process. So, WADA's doping control process has 11 stages to ensure fairness during testing. Athletes are monitored from notification to sample collection. So, what is the purpose? This helps in preventing tampering and to ensure sample security. The key step in sample collection process is the choice of collection vessels. Athletes themselves can select their own vessel. The urine sample and the blood sample vessel will be kept there, and athlete themselves can select it so that there is no future discrepancy or any negative comments from the athlete. The sample collection, total quantity of around 90 ml of urine is taken under DCO's observation, that is doping control officer's observation. There are two samples, A and B sample. In the 90 ml will be equally split, the sample split for initial and also potential retesting. So, the initial testing will only be done for the A sample, and if there is any anti-doping rule violation found in that, then in the future the athlete can ask for a retesting of the B sample. So, during the process of sample testing, documenting and result handling also is important in the doping control process. Sample testing, specific gravity is checked, A sample is tested and B sample stored. So, when the athlete gives a sample, the specific gravity is checked, only the A sample is tested and the B sample is safely stored. In documentation, athlete fills out the doping control form, and then during the result handling, samples are sent to World Anti-Doping Agency lab, and then the results sent to the anti-doping organization and World Anti-Doping Agency. So, these are the steps which should be followed by all the national anti-doping organizations to prevent anti-doping rule violations. So, what are the take-home messages? Regulations and testing by World Anti-Doping Agency WADA and IOC International Olympic Committee aim to decrease incidence of doping and eliminate its use in any sport. Enhanced testing and education, especially anti-doping education and learning, are key to prevent doping violations. Collective action is essential in promoting clean sport. The athlete support personnel, coaching staff, the trainer all play a key role in doping violations, and they need to be held accountable in case of any anti-doping rule violations. So, these are the references for today's lecture. This is the end of the third week. So, at this end of this, we will have a group of assignments, especially given to you through multiple choice questions, and the students can look into the references for a broad reading. Thank you and Jai Hind.